from the MAC. As first question is, how long have you been director of the MAC?
Actually, I'm director of intercultural engagement.
Okay. How long has the MAC been here?
Oh gosh, the Multicultural Education Center building here, the building itself was built, I want to say 1890s.
1890s?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it was a home, and eventually the people passed away and gave it over to the school.
My name is Byron Adams. I'm the Interim Associate Vice Chancellor for the Division of Academic Support of Inclusive Excellence. I've been on campus here for 20 years. I'm also an alumnus of UWO, got both my undergrad and graduate degrees here.
All right. So today we're in the MEC, and I wanted to do a kind of a brief overview of the MEC, its history here on campus, maybe some key events that it was involved with, and then what all is currently offered as services, etc., to students who maybe don't know about the MEC, and yeah, that should cover us.
Yeah, so the Multicultural Education Center has a long, kind of rich, deep history. The kind of short and sweet of it though is, so in the early 60s, the UW system for Wisconsin decided to make a concerted effort to increase their diversity efforts and outreach for people of color. And so part of those outreach efforts were to actively recruit African American students. And so this is taking place in the early to mid 60s. And so through those efforts, UW system and UW Oshkosh itself did special outreach and recruitment, and eventually hired staff to look at recruiting and retaining students of color, specifically African American students. So fast forward to now the mid 60s, late 60s, some of the efforts that were made to recruit those students were things of promises of scholarships and financial aid packages and various things, curriculum around topics pertaining to people of color and African Americans, things of that nature. And so students come to campus, their efforts are pretty good, so they are able to recruit a good amount of these populations. And so as students come and are enrolled here, they begin to feel a bit of a culture shock. And so they go to administration and say, hey, you know, we're having these experiences on campus in the community, pertaining around, you know, racism and things of that nature. And then also some of the things that we were basically promised, you know, so scholarships and financial aid packages and housing and things of these nature, we're not getting them basically, right? And so the students at the time just felt like their needs weren't being met. So they go to our administration, president at that time, and express their concerns. And basically it falls on deaf ears. So again, this kind of dance goes on for a little while. And so now we're in the fall of 1968. And so students realize that their voice is kind of being stifled and their requests aren't getting met. And so on November 21st, 1968, a group of over 100 students, mainly African American students, protest in Dempsey Hall and eventually make their way up to the president's office. And so from those efforts, they submitted a list of basically demands of things that they wanted that the university to do. A lot of the things that they felt that they were promised to come to school here at UW Oshkosh. And so it was a long list of things. But part of those demands were having a resource center or an African American center on campus for them specifically, kind of a place to serve as a home away from home for them. And so, again, fast forwarding to that, a lot of those demands weren't weren't given, and the majority of those students, specifically 94 of them, ended up getting expelled and basically kicked out of the UW system. A lot of them weren't able to even go to school in Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
And so because of that, eventually that wrong was sort of righted, and out of that we got the Multicultural Education Center, which was again on their list of original demands. And so the center has been around since late 60s, so 68, 69. It's taken on various forms. It's been in various...
Cool. So briefly before we started this interview, you had also given me a card with information for a gentleman who has more information if students might wish to reach out to him.
So we actually have a dedicated website as well, specifically to the events that happened during Black Thursday.
Okay.
So if you go to the UWO main page and search for Black Thursday, the website will come up. But then also our university archivist, Joshua Ranger, who works in Polk Library on the 3rd floor. He's just over the years he's done a wealth of research into Black Thursday, and specifically him along with a faculty member on campus, Dr. Stephen Kirscher, who works in our history department. A few years back did an oral history project where they went and actually interviewed members from the Oshkosh 94. They interviewed faculty that were here on campus during that time, police, other university officials, and community members. I think they ended up interviewing over 100 people and just got, a bunch of hours of oral history from various peoples and their experiences around Black Thursday. And so, Joshua Ranger is our university archivist and can really speak to the depth and the details of those stories.